And yeah, so
No objection
today's
for me.
yeah
No objection
so,
for me, I said.
yeah. I guess so. Okay, so for today, the invitation is to talk a bit about how a contributor pipeline can look like, and for that, we want to use Tibi's brain and experience at Sensorica, but not only, right? Like I'm sure we all have our own experiences and cool ideas and useful to share. Um, so what I was thinking is that we can maybe start with some context, also taking into account that a few of you are new people here, to explain how we understand this, how the crypto leftist Discord, how it works and its aim and so on, and its interaction with Breadchain, and then maybe T can make a short presentation, like 10-15 minutes, of just sharing about your experience, with questions from us, and then we can take it from there and see where we end up. We usually stay here for around 1 hour, but we are always welcome to stay longer if needed. Hey Matt, welcome, by the way. How are you doing? You are a bit late. We were all checking in, and you didn't miss anything related to today's topic. Do you want to check in?
Sure. Hey, happy to be here. Just listening in and getting a feel for things. Hope everybody's doing well.
Perfect. So I can go ahead and present a bit. Josh, like, feel free to interrupt or add anything. Mercurial, same. So how I understand this is that so we have this server with over 1,000 people, um, and we assume that is politically aligned people. As you know, it's called the crypto leftist community. So people who mainly come because they listen to the blockchain socialist podcast, um, and so on. So they feel that they need to join us. And so yeah, as I said, it's 1,000 of us, different people around. Um, and there is a project called Breadchain, which is it was created by founded by some people within this community, and it now has a number of cooperatives, which basically every month get allocated a yield that is generated through some DAI, which is the collateral backing the bread token. And yeah, we are working on democratic ways to allocate those funds among those projects, also connecting with other projects, cooperative projects that work with crypto, but not necessarily, who want to be part of the network. Um, and yeah, so for me, the aim with developing or working on a contributor pipeline is that we, on the one hand, like we engage with people who want to contribute to Breadchain, which is a very specific project. Um, and then on the other hand, that new projects, which are aligned with what the community wants, and the political position here, emerge out of the community, out of the people who are here. Um, and yeah, we have had a number of conversations, of discussions about how to do that. There are a few steps that we have been taking, that we can share more in detail if necessary. But I would say that's the broad picture. You all had the experience of getting to know about this server, of joining the server, of spending some days here and seeing like how it feels like. So you know how that is. And yeah, I don't know if any other relevant thing to be added, Josh or Mercurial.
No, I think it's just nice to hear someone else explain it besides me and hearing how you do it. No, I think generally like you know, in order to like my thinking is that in order to actually like what creates a community in many ways is just kind of like regular touch points. It's just kind of like a core way of like making a community. You can't make a community just like by showing up randomly the first time and then you automatically feel like you know what to do. So these community calls I think are a way for us to like explore different I mean to learn from other people and like communities and also to see internally what's going on. And then with the idea ultimately of course is that like people are more willing to contribute and work on things if they do feel like they're part of a community and they align with the vision and everything. And I think DAOs were have like tried to do that, in years past. But I do think that a lot of it was kind of like market driven, which had its issues, which is why I think we've seen a lot of people burn out. So I think for me, it's like the intuition is interesting and nice of like yeah we can find people who will we align with each other over the internet and we can work on cool things together, but there is I think a missing thing with kind of like the very market driven way that a lot of DAOs are run. I feel that maybe we're trying to explore how do we do that. So I think part of that is being uh, yeah building more real relationships in the process of all this. Maybe just add that.
Yeah. Um, Good. Mercurial, I don't know if you want some anything to be added, or otherwise, if you any of you has some other specific questions about this community and Breadchain, feel free.
Y'all covered it great. Free Palestine. That's all I got.
So how
Yeah.
would you? Oh no,
Oh,
sorry. You
sorry.
go ahead first.
Yeah. Thank you. I would like to know how do you actually contribute and how we can get more involved.
Yeah, I
Sorry,
mean,
Well,
Chris.
I'd say that the how is however you best want to is one way to look at it. How you think you can bring the most value, of course, based on whatever your skills are. Of course, it has to align with a bit with kind of what our needs are, and then this kind of contributor pipeline that I think Unai was referencing is something that we're trying to build out. Basically, a more kind of clear pathway to figure out how people can contribute, and that's something that rather Mercurial has been working on as well.
We're
So I
working
think
on clarifying some roles, and before we get to that stage, we're also trying to gather some information about the community and figure out some easy first steps for like mutual support and yeah, again, mostly information gathering. Unai and I have kind of pulled together a few of the topics that a lot of people have been interested in, and we'll be posting those in the contributor category of the Discord. So if you have the Breadchain friend role, you can see that category, and you'll see some new threads pop up in the new initiatives forum. Also, if if you're talking with some folks about something you want to do, just post a summary of it in that forum and get the conversation started with some other folks.
Okay, cool.
yeah, I would also maybe just add to clarify in case it's needed that there's like ways to contribute as far as like what we're doing at Breadchain, but then there's also like we want the space to be a space where you can find others to collaborate with on things. So not necessarily like you have to contribute to things in Breadchain, but if you find something else that you would like to work on, and then maybe sometime later we can talk about how that can fit into Breadchain. If or not, like if that makes sense, then we're more. It's yeah, almost like a what do you call it? Like a startup accelerator, but not not for startups and for actually useful things.
I have a question on that. So, what is there like a consensus definition of like what is useful or valuable?
Well, I wouldn't say that there's like a one way to define that, I guess, as far as the things that we're interested in. I mean, I think there are like broad categories of things that we're interested in that are just like more on the like political left. So I mean, things related to labor, things related to mutual aid, democratic organizing, um, that kind of like category of things, I guess. And then I guess the other thing that is useful is like ways that we can make money or like to have money and funds in a treasury so that we can fund people to actually work on all this is also, of course, useful and maybe sometimes is overlooked by people on the left. um, but it would be nice to be able to pay people, for their work as well.
Maybe I could. Can I say something about that? I think that's an important question when we talk about participation.
Sure,
Sure,
sure.
maybe you.
We do have some clear definitions about what is useful and what is valuable. Um, the useful, it's what is actually used. And in order to implement that, you need some type of tool. So we have developed this network resource planning, which is a sort of an ERP or enterprise resource planning tool for networks. Okay, so we had to completely redesign how a network of individuals steward resources and processes. Because you cannot fit a network into a box. You cannot use SAP, for example, to do these kind of things, right? So once you have this tool, you can have an inventory of resources, and you can have processes, and processes utilize resources. So every time somebody uses something from the shared pool of resources, that use is recorded. So useful is what has been recorded in use. It's as simple as that, right? You can perhaps guess that something will be useful, but something becomes useful only if you have a record of use. So we have the ability to track that. Then what is valuable? The definition of value that we use. Value is a sort of a trilateral relation between a thing. Oh, just a second. Just a second. Yes, hello. Yeah, it's like a makerspace, and yeah, and electronics and open source development. Yeah, yeah.
Sorry, didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was in a meeting, but you can pass by later or another day. We can talk. Yeah, there is a presentation on the window too. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah. So essentially, you have a thing, right? Then you have a token, and then you have something that is more subjective. Okay. So this follows like Peirce's theory of semantics. When you have an object, the term, and the concept about the term that lives in your head. In short, value is refers to a subjective experience that moves people into action. And that subjective experience, you have it when you're facing something, for example, a cone of ice cream. Pushes you into action is like you can deploy some efforts, go to the store and maybe exchange something against an ice cream, right? That's an action. And so value is not a thing, it's not a substance, it cannot be stored, it cannot be exchanged. What is exchanged are things, not value itself, because it's always has a component that just sits in your brain, right? You're an economic agent, so you experience, you have a value experience, right? Yeah, so that's why that's our working definition of value, and that's pretty important when it comes to participation, because what you need as an entrepreneur in a sort of a decentralized environment is to create value experiences. So why would people come to a project? Well, because they have a value experience, because they want to learn something, or because they want to have a sense of belonging, or they want to network and have some new friends, or they want to get some money in the future. So all these and many, many reasons, these are value experiences, and creating a value experience is kind of an alchemy to bring all these things together and make people respond. So what is the threshold that makes people just jump on that project? If you surface, well, this is a place where you can learn, or you can show off some skills, or you can make some new friends, or you can, I don't know, get access to make a conference presentation, or have a scientific paper, or make some money. So the entrepreneur creates this value experience and attracts people for all these reasons. And some of the people react to one side of these reasons. Some other people come with other type of motivation. So once you detach yourself from value is price or money is value, then you can understand why people create Wikipedias, why people contribute to open source. Some of them because they want to get a job for a service, others because they just want to learn something new. But everything becomes sort of manageable in terms of conceptualization.
Thank you for that, by the way.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's I'm realizing it's like having good vibes is like bringing value to the DAO, right? By that definition. Whereas I feel like this experience with this DAO that I'm working with right now has really poisoned my mind in terms of what is value for a DAO, right? Because again, I said earlier, it's like I'm working in this like very hyper capitalist DAO, right? And value is only ever ascribed in terms of like, does this make money for the DAO? Like, does this mean the DAO makes money, right? And so, okay, yeah, no, that's a cool, a much cooler way of conceptualizing what it means to like make a proposal to the DAO and say like, I propose to bring value in this way.
Just want to mention one thing here. So thank you for sharing your insights about what is valuable. So I've been actually exploring the space like since 2014 or something like that, and it's really interesting what kind of projects you run across and what people report about their experiences about that. So maybe one thing is I think Wikipedia is not the best example for. I know what you wanted to try to point to, this kind of online collaboration, but for me, Wikipedia is like this thing where the potential of an idea really turned into something like Darth Vader, or something like that, because Jimmy Wales created there something really interesting and pushed it into the public, and then got so many contributors going, and yeah, and then it turned out to be something really quite different. I attended some local Wikimedia meetups, so I talked to the people who are really the editors, and what their understanding what people should contribute to articles and what people shouldn't contribute articles. I had this idea like, oh, pupils from schools could also write articles, and they were no, that's a really bad idea, things like that. And then you start to realize, oh, okay, there are already people in the Wikipedia who are like kind of gatekeepers. What kind of articles come therein, and what kind of articles don't come in. So Wikipedia for me is something like you have the kind. I really try to keep it short. You have a textual agreement in different language communities, right? So like math, science, mostly like chemics and physics. But if you go to the social stuff, then you're really in the interesting topics. Then you see like, oh, there are pages you can't edit, and so certain points for certain peoples like Assange or whatever, other controversial topics. So you're really hitting and very, very dangerous and a topic where discussions happen. And it's a problem because people go to Wikipedia, they conceive it as a truth. Like, okay, there's something I want to know. I type it into Google, and Google generates me a summary, and some of the data comes from Wikipedia. It's really, really an important put of data that is put there. Yeah, and so I think this kind of what is the truth and how to bring that together with contributors, and then with this how they are doing media, doing their funding. It's really a difficult thing, and we should really learn from the mistakes from Wikimedia and Wikipedia too. So that's just my short interjection here.
Yeah, so these are hybrid systems. There's a lot of hybrid. There's the ideal peer-to-peer forms, and there is a lot of hybrid systems that are sort of precursors of the peer-to-peer culture. So it's like capitalism taking shape within feudalism. You can see precursors dating back in the 1500s, and we don't actually say that capitalism was created in 1500s, but you know, the sort of an embryonic institutions that had to coalesce into becoming capitalism were forming in 1400, 1500 already. And there was a lot of like hybrid structures, you know, that were getting created. So we're kind of in these murky waters where one system is trying to evolve from within another system. And there's a lot of confusion in this period of transition to say what is peer-to-peer, looking at all these examples, right?
Yeah, maybe now would be, since we're already halfway through the hour, maybe it'd be good if Tibi could share more on Sensorica and the makerspace. Is that kind of what you wanted to to present on? I imagine there's probably a lot for us to learn, and yeah, something for us to think about how maybe we can do similar things, but in a, I mean, for the most part right now, largely digital space. But yeah, curious how you guys, yeah, maybe I'll let you speak.
Well, I can walk you through an example that Una is very familiar with. If I share my screen, is that okay?
Sure.
Okay. So let me go here and navigate to this. So you can see, since we're talking about participation pipeline, you will be able to see the pipeline here. So first of all, let me say this. Sensorica, we started in 2011. So after Bitcoin was created, but before you know, blockchain 2.0, which is you know, all these Turing machine completed blockchains like Ethereum, where you can write smart contracts, and that announced the coming of the DAO, right? So we started back then, and our thing was to understand how to do material peer productions. So we do have a lab, right? And we're focusing on hardware development. So if we look here on the top, I'm gonna try to zoom in a little bit if I can. You can see a little bit the structure. So I'm gonna focus on the sort of the pipeline of participation. So first, people, you know, they're gonna land on the first page and say, "What the heck is this?" You know, and on the first page, you're introduced to a bit of what Sensorica is. And Sensorica is presented as an incubator or an accelerator of open ventures. Okay, so these are not startups. Okay, so you're kind of you get hit with the peer-to-peer economic paradigm, right? So you can expand this and see what we're doing. There's a few catchwords here: stigmatic environment. So we're moving away from planning and becoming more stigmergic in terms of coordination. And we talk about synergy, meaning that you have, as an incubator, open ventures, and open means that people can flow from one venture to another. They're not closed, they're not boxes, and all the resources that are shared throughout the network, and everything that ventures produce is open source. So anything material or digital is remixable in any one of these ventures. So that creates synergy within the ecosystem. So instead of having an incubator like a bunch of eggs, think about it as an omelet where everything interpenetrates at the level of resources, right? Processes belong to ventures, but resources and even humans, they are free to move through these boundaries that ventures have. And it's leveraging collective intelligence, meaning that our processes, our methodologies, they kind of implement collective intelligence, so it's highly collaborative and leverages collective intelligence. And it's very technical when I say collective intelligence. Like if you go to the wiki, you'll see some very clear mechanisms that we use to enhance that collective intelligence and not just have ventures with heroes like you have Apple and I don't know, some other things, right? So you just get hit with this paradigm, and then depending who you are, okay, you see how you can interact with the with Sensorica. So that's the first funnel, okay, that brings you where you want to go. So if you're an individual, you can essentially participate in projects, and you can have some direct benefits, and you can, you have a pathway to join the network with affiliate handbook and all that. So you can look at ventures, you can look at events, you can educate yourself. You can talk to people by joining Discord or Facebook or Twitter, and you can even replicate the Sensorica makerspace somewhere else in the world. And then once you decide who you are, suppose you are an individual because we're talking about contributors, then the next thing, it's ventures, right? So we believe that the incentives are generated only at this level here. It's very hard to incentivize people at the network level. People come in for very clear, precise motivations. So they get excited about a project, essentially. That's what I'm saying. And it's at the level of the project where you make things clear, right? And you have the most incentives or motivations to join the network. So the funnel goes, okay, I'm an individual and I want to browse some projects and see if I can contribute with my skills. So right away, you can join the venture, you can finance the venture if you want. This venture is called Greens for Good, okay? And it's part of a category of ventures, which is food and agriculture, and it's part of the Sensorica community. The Sensorica as an open network has different communities, so it is an ecosystem for ventures, but also an ecosystem for communities. You have the offers here. You're getting introduced to the project. This is about, you have the vision and mission. So you see, I can slowly you sink into this venture. So this is about some hardware device to extract some proteins from plants. These are the publications that we have created. And then these are the supporters. We work with some universities. You have the objectives of the venture. So you're slowly getting introduced with the thing, the description. And now you can dive into, okay, I'm getting excited. I want to join the Discord and see what's in the calendar. And here you can see how this venture is structured. Okay, so these are like departments in a company, if you want the equivalent. Okay, so people are working on building the capacity for this venture, which means like bringing in funding, access to labs and resources, access to skills, relationships with academia. Process maintenance, this is your project management kind of work package where people do some planning, set up the Stigmergy processes in the project. They monitor how contributions go, if we're late or not, so on and so forth. Deliverables is what the project produces, right? So this is where you get your CAD files for 3D printing, your electronics, your software, and you have, you can click, these are clickable, and it leads you to, it's like the digital environment where these things are documented and where we explore things. Wrapping up is saying, okay, once we create these deliverables, then we have to write like reports, because sometimes we work with sponsors, and the sponsors, they want to have things packaged as a report. So this is where a team of people, they get all the work that was created, and they're kind of producing these digital deliverables. And dissemination is like, once you create something that is useful for people, you just push it out there and have people adopt it, have people use it. In this case, if it's a device and it's made do-it-yourself, so it's an open source do-it-yourself plant protein extractor, the dissemination part of it is to go to these communities and say, hey, we have these things, we can teach you how to build it. Here's the plans, you can build it yourself, so on and so forth, right? We don't call it distribution because that creates confusion with market distribution. So peer-to-peer economy is not a market economy, right? It's not a planned economy. So when you say it's not non-market, the version of non-market economy that people know is communism, or social communism more than socialism, where everything is planned by the state, prices are set by the state. You have the 5-year plan and so on and so forth. Peer-to-peer is not, it's neither one. Okay, it's the artifacts that we create, we disseminate, because essentially they're just digital plans. Okay, it's do it yourself. It's instructables how to make it. So we're not selling you the thing. We're just showing you how to build it. Yeah, so that's how the venture is set up. And if we go to the dashboard here, when it comes to like the work package of process maintenance, okay, so people can go here. This is accessible to everybody. So you can have the budget. So we got some money for this thing, and we allocate this budget according to these different work plans. Okay, so work packages. So these are exactly the work packages that you saw here. Okay. This is how people are spending the money. So there's always a bit of money left here. The work packages are still here, and you can see participation. These are people that have participated in the project, and you can have their total number of hours and last contribution. You have the role. So let's say you want to talk to somebody that has more information about the mechanical aspects of this prototype. You can find here the guy that has done most of the R&D. So that's the guy I want to talk to. So yeah, and if you want to talk with somebody that, if you're interested in community building, right? You can probably talk to Tibi. Okay. So these tools come from, this data comes from the NRP, Network Resource Planning and Contribution Accounting, that I was telling about. So it's a sort of a ERP for networks. And because you're capturing that data, people contribute, they log their contributions. These contributions now become available, so you can crunch this data in different ways to see how healthy the organization is in real time, right? And you can see also who can you trust for something. So in terms of governance here, okay, what happens is that if we have to make a decision about the mechanical aspects, well, we will rely on Anthony to lead this discussion, and people will probably trust him to cut the debate and make the final decision, because he has emerged as the specialist, not because he was appointed. So that's part of the peer-to-peer organization of work, which is like fluid and emergent, right? If we want to make a decision about community building, it's always made in collaboration. But if there is a deep disagreement, well, this guy here can actually cut the debate, and people will trust him because he's the one that carries the information, has knowledge about facts, okay, more than anybody else. Yeah, so people are incentivized because as they contribute and log contributions, they get some money. But also because it's collaborative work, it's open source. They may be interested because they want to use this somewhere else, fork it and use it, or because they want to make friends or whatever, right? So this is a bit like Bitcoin. Like, why do people mine Bitcoin, for example, or why do people mine cryptocurrencies? Because they get something in return, tangible, okay? And you can say here that people are mining innovation with their brains, and they're getting rewarded according to their contributions. So it's a motivation factor, right? So as people go into ventures, they get motivated, and then you set up some incentives for them. And this is the dashboard of contributions, but it also shows you the material part of incentives, right? They get paid some money to do this stuff. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Maybe we go to questions.
Yeah, thanks a lot for sharing. Questions. I have a number, but go ahead. Questions.
No, I thought it was really interesting. I guess one of the things that the immediate thing that comes to my mind with the what do you call it, is it EVN or the replacement for the ERP?
NRP, network. Instead of enterprise resource planning, is network resource planning.
Network, yeah, no, that's so yeah, I mean, like, yeah, in a previous life of mine, I was a consultant and had to deal a lot with SAP, and it was horrible. But it is something that is like ultimately useful, of course. And I wonder, one of the things that I hated about SAP though was like having to put in your hours to clock your hours every week, what you worked on and how much and whatever else. I'm just curious if it's something like in this type of community, is it annoying to do? Like, is it like something that it was easy to get people to adopt as part of the bureaucracy of the group or the network or the community?
Yeah. So I don't think there's a way around logging your contributions, and that could be that is not just time. It's like you can contribute financially to a venture. You can contribute with time. You can contribute with your social capital. Let's say you make a connection between the project and some university, and you seal that deal. These are contributors. So essentially, you have to create a ledger of economic activity in order to coordinate large scale. And in order to because it's network resource planning and contribution accounting, but then what do you do with that? You do redistribution of benefits. So in order to reduce the risk of problems, litigations, or fights against the people, it is, I advise to use a ledger. Okay, so let's say, for example, now we have something, and there is a conference, international conference, and people want to present. Okay, so how do you decide who's going to present? Presentation is getting the spotlight. It is a benefit, a form of benefit, like getting money or whatever. So having a sort of a benefit redistribution algorithm that feeds data from the ledger of economic activity, from the contributions, having that agreement in place, you avoid a lot of problems. When it comes to splitting money around contributors, there is always fights. Always people feel that they're not considered. that guy had more than, you always have these problems, and this is bad blood for the organization. This is what essentially poisons the atmosphere. And so having a redistribution scheme of the budget to contributors according to some algorithm that feeds on validated contributions by peers, then you just avoid yourself a lot of troubles. So as long as you don't have $50,000 for a project, like at minimum, where people can get excited about, you can wing it just we're good guys and we collaborate. As soon as you put like hard resources and opportunities on the table, social problems within your organizations become inevitable. It's not that if they happen, it's when they're going to happen. And having this kind of social contract that is based on reality, on real data, is a must. So yeah, people are annoyed. It is not mandatory to log your contributions by the governance of our ventures. Is not mandatory. But if you don't, then you agree that your name will not be picked up by an algorithm for redistribution of benefits. So you can say, I'm just here to make some friends and just donate my time. That's fine. Everybody's fine with that. But don't come later and say, hey guys, you know what? I also contributed. Sorry, dude. There is no record of that. And if we do you a favor, then we have to do everybody a favor. You know what I'm saying?
That's very interesting to hear. Very interesting approach. Well, also, I mean, sorry to interrupt you. I just we've been working on this, and I've been working on this too. And I mean, when you come to our platform, it is that you open a dashboard, and in this dashboard, you can have any type of rule that you want. And it is like terms and conditions, right? And in these terms and conditions are also smart contracts. And in each community, you can have your own rules. So you wouldn't have to change the rules that you already have right now. But for example, let's say, like you are saying, like somebody, it is going to be mad no matter what, no matter how many agreements you sign, it is always going to be like that. So the thing is that having a way into have either mediation or juries arbitration just in a very easy automatic way, I think it is going to help a lot into these types of discussions, and also the automatization of things. Like if everything is already signed, if everything is already automated, you can't fight like an algorithm. You can't fight a smart contract. You can fight people, but if you fight people, then there's other mechanisms. So I totally understand all of your frustrations, and I think you are going into a very nice path here with what you are. Well, what you have created so far. But I just wanted to chime in. Sorry, this is very. I'm always very passionate about these kind of things because I love it. So yes, thinking about how technology can help you to actually not having this dispute, not having this in the first place, and to do it so quickly and so easier if it happens. Because maybe this person is just being annoying, maybe they are just want to fight for fighting, because
Yeah.
that happens. We have bad days. So what if you just have a jury in 10 minutes and this jury in your own community saying, you know what, probably this person is just having a bad day. So yeah, let's address this and that's it. So or even maybe with a mediation, let's have a dialogue. Let's talk with other people. Let's see how we can do this, but with the help of a smart contract. So I really, really love what you are doing by combining everything, because yes, I truly believe that's the future. Combining technology, smart contracts, everything into law and into human interactions, it is really what we are about, what we are here. So sorry, I'm
So
rambling.
mhm. So our thing is scale, right? So what can scale? So you can drive things informally if you're like small groups, and just manage it, right? Have meetings and have check-ins and all that. Manage it in a social sphere. But if you think about creating an organization that can eventually one day build cars, and you need like, I don't know, 15,000 people to contribute. At that scale, these social mechanisms, okay, break down. So when we build Sensorica, is always with scale in mind. When we build these projects, even though some projects we run at very small scale, like 15, 20, 25, 30 contributors, it's still manageable in the social sphere. But we always have the focus, like, what if one day something explodes, and all of a sudden we have an influx of, I don't know, 15,000 people? Okay, how can we put in place mechanisms that actually can operate at that scale? Because the focus is always on, can peer-to-peer eventually become a dominant economic logic? Okay, like capitalism came out of feudalism. Is peer-to-peer prefigurative of a future society? Okay, so if things cannot work at scale, forget it. So that's why we have the NRP, also for resources and stuff. Now, when it comes to smart contracts, there's this debate, like, on chain, off chain. There's only so much you can automate, but you can automate a lot of stuff, but not everything. So we see these as a constitution. It's like a social contract, like a constitution that people can come in and change if they want. So the rules of the game for a venture, they can eventually be changed if a great majority of contributors decide to, and there is a framework for that. It's a long tail distribution. You have a core group, and then you have a way to cut it somewhere and say that these people that have contributed above a certain threshold, they are decision makers. They can eventually change these social norms, the social contract. And we eliminate the long tail, because you always have to think about potential network attacks. Okay, somebody that comes in, doesn't do much, but causes a lot of trouble. So there's so it's peer-to-peer network architecture with all these considerations of efficiency, but also prevent potential attacks, right? So the best tool that what we have done is like sort of because we were created before the smart contracts. I think the best way to go about it is to use Ricardian contracts that have one side, which is natural language law expressed in natural language and rules expressed in natural language, with an automated enforcing mechanism, which is the smart contract side. And we are at this point in time when we can take our experience and put most of what we have on Ricardian contracts to run everything, right? While acknowledging that there is a big part of just human input that needs to be there. It can never be automated. The NRP, it's a server client application. It's outdated. It's not supported anymore. It's chunky. We always have problems. Actually, it's down at this moment, and I was trying to to get some participation to deal with some bugs. And we're looking for people in the blockchain space. We're working with people from Holochain as well to port these tools that we have to Holochain and blockchain. So there's a lot of work to do, to take all this experience, to take the legal templates that we have developed, and build these smart contracts, right? And sort of rebuild the NRP on decentralized infrastructures. That work has not been done. So everything you saw from Sensorica, it's peer-to-peer in practice, but you know, the NRP, that the economic ledger sits on a server with admin you know, credentials. So I personally could delete your contributions, you know, and that's not very desirable. So we're moving into that direction where we can automate stuff and put stuff on Ricardian contracts.
Good. That sounds great. And like I was saying, hey, maybe we should have a talk about peacekeepers and what we can do with dispute resolution. And this is open to everyone. If you want to chat a little bit more about it, I would love to, because all of your projects also sound really good, like Bo and Curious and everything. You all sound nice. So please reach out to me if you want to have a call and discuss more about this.
Nice, thanks. So it's already 1 hour already went by. Like, if anyone wants to leave, like, you don't need to stay. But if you want to stay a bit longer, I'm going to stay a bit longer. So I don't know if anyone who didn't speak maybe has any comment, question. Yeah, go.
So I have so many questions, but and I'm trying to like limit the scope right now. So we use Coordinate, which for like our distribution of payments. It's a similar base system, but it doesn't have all the functionality. You know, at its base, you allocate an amount of money to basically just a vault, and then throughout you assign it to an epoch, say like a month, and then everybody writes in over the course of that month like what their contributions were. And then at the end of the month, everybody votes and allocates like one of 100 tokens to everybody else who's in that circle. You can't allocate it to yourself based on like the direct value you saw that person giving. And then at the end of the round, you know, the funds in the vault are distributed sort of proportionally to everybody who's been, you know, it can be specific to like one specific function, or it can be just one team-wide vault that goes to everyone. I guess like, so I have a couple of questions. One is like, I see that like in the budget document, or like in the budget overview for this project in particular, Greens for Good, there's different roles, and each of those roles have like predefined dollar per hour ratios. And then and so like, you know, what does the process look like of figuring out what dollar per hour ratio you're assigning? Second is like, does anybody get a guaranteed like sort of base sort of salary, or is it all just based on like logged? Okay, so it's all just based on logged hours. And then what is the like? I guess like maybe the judgment of logged hours is something that happens in epochs over periods where like someone has logged a bunch of hours to doing something, and then there's some sort of oversight or accountability that comes in and takes a look and says, well, what has been delivered according to these like sort of self-reported hours. I guess those are the two questions, right? How do you decide to assign a per hour? What rate is assigned per hour per role? And then like, how do you verify that the work has been done to then assign some compensation to someone?
So these are sort of parameters. These are dials. When it comes to roles and okay. Let me take a step back here. So you have a ledger of economic activity. That ledger contains facts. A fact may be I designed something in 3D. I put the screws on that thing and took it for a spin to see if it works. I wrote a document. I published something on Facebook. I created a video. These are facts. And then the question is, how do you evaluate these facts and weigh them to each other, right? So Sensorica doesn't prescribe a way to do that. In essence, what we say that let's create a Darwinian environment where people create various ways to evaluate and compare these things. The success is that your venture is attracting talent and resources. So just let it evolve. But we do have some templates, and you can decide to have a venture and use one of the templates that already exist that have proven some success. Or you may decide that you want to start from scratch and create your own thing. Okay. So the NRP actually, you can program an algorithm for redistribution of benefits, and you can do it from scratch, or you can just use a template. Okay. So time is used not because we believe that time is a proxy of value of contributions or something. It's just because in the context today, okay, people are used to be measured in time, and people are used to be measured according to their roles. Okay, so if people have been trained like that, if they respond to that, well, our goal is to get people to participate. But it's not based on a solid ideology that time is value or time is this, or, you know what I'm saying, the I don't know, the Marxist theory of value that is related to labor and stuff. It's not at all. It's just because by historical accident, people respond to that because since they were kids, they have been brainwashed into believing that time is money. Okay, so being pragmatic about it, okay, let's use roles and time. But it's as proxies, and the end of any such an algorithm is to generate a sense of fairness. So write the rules on the door. Hey, you want to play this game? And people say, oh yeah, okay. So I'm an engineer. Okay, I see that they value my skills. I feel good about it. And that's how much money they pay me per hour. You know, so it's as simple as that. But it's not hardwired. Okay, it's again, it's creating a value experience. It's moving people into action without being too analytical about it, that value is time or time is value and people should hire. Now, what happens is that sometimes you get a bunch of artists that want to collaborate on a project, and they tend to be very egalitarian, and they will come up with algorithm for the redistribution of benefits, which could be a presentation, could be money from a grant or whatever. That is totally different than the more hierarchical way of engineers. You know, culturally, they tend to be more hierarchical, right? So just provide the tools, you know, the sandboxes for people to create whatever they define as fairness according to their culture. Okay, so just provide these tools for them to play with it. Okay, and now
can I just interject real quick and
yeah.
Oh, could I just clarify quickly? Like,
Mhm.
so when you say looking to build like a blockchain system, you would say looking to build like a blockchain system that does exactly that, that gives people a sandbox to build this sort of redistribution algorithm that produces a sense of fairness among the participants in a joint venture.
Yes, and we have the recipe. I mean, we have done that in Web 2. Okay. So yeah, and I'm happy to collaborate with people that want to transpose that into blockchain. And if it's open source, I'm even happier to help and collaborate, because we can steal the we can steal the work and use it ourselves. And probably would be nice for any people anybody that develop this kind of tools to come to Sensorica and say, hey guys, can you see if this makes sense for you? Is it useful? And I think it's taking into consideration our experience, I think is a good gauge of if something is useful or not. So I'm just putting out that call that you can use Sensorica as a sort of a validation platform for your whatever ideas you have. So now when it comes to the second question, which is validation of contributions. Okay, I think was that the question? How do you validate contribution? Yeah. So first of all, we transfer a bunch of that into the social sphere. Okay, which means that instead of you taking a task and disappearing and coming back 2 weeks after with something and say, ta-da, here it is, guys. Now do your evaluation work there and see how much it's worth. What we actually do is every task cannot be monopolized by anybody. Okay, so when we talk about collaborative network, it's like any task could be collaborative. So you can announce. So in the NRP, you can sign up to a task, but you cannot monopolize. If you sign up to a task, it doesn't disappear for the others. You just signal that I'm working on this. Okay, but anybody else can come and work with you. So people are looking over your shoulders all the time. You cannot tell somebody that no, I am on this task. Okay, so if you're more than one guy on a task, you guys collaborate. And when we talk about collective intelligence, that's part of the methodology. It's like now you're not alone. Now you thought you're gonna do it alone, but now we have 10 people coming working with you. How do you coordinate that work? Okay, how do you make it so that the collective intelligence emerges and now you guys can ride on top of each other? A collective intelligence experience for us is like, suppose I'm writing a scientific paper on a project, and it's like in my head I have the plan and everything, but through the methodology I provide ways in for other people to kind of train their brain to read my mind, and we reach this point very rapidly where we read everybody's mind and we put words into everybody's mouth. So how it translates in terms of user experience is that you go in the document and people write on top of each other. We're not saying, oh, this is my section, this is my. So once you put that methodology of collective intelligence in place, okay, you kind of shaping one collective brain, and work becomes truly collaborative. You're not carving stuff. This is my task. This is your stuff. It's a way of doing things. Okay, and it's magical once you actually learn how to do it. It's like riding a bicycle. You don't have it the first time, but then once you get into that methodology, you say, oh wow, this is really powerful. So that's part of the methodology, right? And people are working on top of each other. So the validation happens very early on in the process. Everybody's aware in that task who's doing what and how much, and then we have the red flag to a rule. So whatever the metric, let's say the metric is time. Okay, suppose the metric is time, whatever. And you have a log. It's not mandatory when you do a distribution. Let's say every week we distribute money to contributors. It's not mandatory that people vote on all the contributions because that's too much of an overhead. Okay, we were doing that at the beginning. We just so what happens is that once you have that, peer checking and collaboration, we put that into the collaborative space. Somebody's not just coming after 2 weeks, opening a box and say, okay, guys, see if it works. People already know. Okay, people are always looking over your shoulder. Shoulder. As soon as you go off track, people are going to pull you back. Okay, so you cannot go on a tangent thinking that you're contributing to the project, and then you're surprised because people say, no, it's not exactly what we meant. And so the rule is that before the distribution, somebody has to red flag your log. So log is not your contribution. It becomes a contribution at a certain date if it's not red flagged. and then you're paid for your contributions, or your whatever benefit flows back to you. So it's a sort of a it's a red flag thing. So the internal immune system, it's not that all the contributions are validated. There's this highly collaborative swarming type, like ants, stigmergy, okay, development work that solves a lot of problems. And then, okay, maybe someone that was not really close to the task believes that some guy mislabeled the fact or whatever, described it in a way that is not realistic, and then can raise a red flag. And that red flag, there is a process defined by governance, like how do you deal with that? Okay, and people can revoke it and say, well, that contribution is not, that log is not a contribution. So there's a button to click that in the NRP after you take this process of deliberation, So there's a lot of things from practice. Now, some of these things are not just immediately transposable to another organization. For example, if you work in an organization that is highly competitive and people bid for tasks, and it's a sort of a rat race, task rabbit type of thing, then you culture works hand in hand with methods and tools, right? So what has evolved within our network, it's not immediately transposable to some other contexts, so there's, don't take it as a recipe, that could be applied everywhere.
Yeah, the sentence I wrote down is validation happens not because of management or oversight, but because of a methodology of coordination. And so, I think that speaks to that point.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like if there's a culture of collaboration and coordination, then like you can enact systems like this. But like you're saying, if there's a highly competitive work environment, again, I keep on coming back to shilling my own shit, but like when we talk about like marketplaces, Amazon is, one of the things we've learned is Amazon's so wildly successful because of how brutal they are in enforcing competition within their organization, right? Like developers, fulfillment, like delivery drivers, warehouse workers, all of them are forced into a brutal competition with one another, and that's how Amazon extracts just so much profit and value from that entire process. So I have to go. Unfortunately, I have work. It's 10:30 here.
Me too. There's somebody that it's somebody like circling around the lab to see when I'm finishing, because we're gonna work on some hardware today.
I'm really fascinated by this whole conversation. Really happy to have had it, and I mean, I'm interested in thinking at least about NRP. But thanks everyone for having this. I'm sorry I got to head out. And I'll talk to you all later.
Yeah, thanks a lot, everyone. So Tibi, you need to go, I guess. We can close it for today, but hope to see you around.
Well, I'm here in the chat. Yeah, if somebody has more questions, we can. And again, I want to underline this, that we're looking for collaborators in the DAO space, just to understand how we can port these methods and tools to blockchain.
Yes.
I'm very happy to collaborate.
And us too. If you need some guinea pigs, let us know.
Yes. All right. Yeah. Sure. Can go both ways. No problem. Okay, guys. Gotta run.
Bye.
Take care, folks. Thanks, Unai.
Bye, brother.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Take care.
Bye, Matt.